Pika pika!
In Paldea's heat, the most precious resource is not food, but pure sunlight. The longer it soaks in sun, the more concentrated its spicy compounds become. In the world of sand, steadfastness is the key to holding your ground. Shedding teeth marks regeneration, a cycle of silent growth and hidden strength. Fearing shade more than enemies, such is the nature of the sun-hardened. Challenges emerge from those who use poison to seize the thermal sources. The first shots are merely a declaration of the right to exist. Failure teaches the creature to endure the cold before becoming transcendent. Not growing through aggression, but the refusal to be pushed away again. When growth is sufficient, an external energy will trigger the metamorphosis. Scovillain emerges, carrying the two opposing beats of ice and fire. No longer chasing the sun, but the one who holds the entire heat. When heat no longer gathers at one point, reality becomes a sovereign territory. The wisdom of the strong is knowing how to turn environments into ultimate weapons. The old rival returns, carrying the cunning of one who refuses to retreat. The weight of faith keeps the plant body steady before a sea of fire. When the ego dissolves, two heartbeats merge into a single, sovereign power. True evolution is when we no longer have to flee from the shadows. The master of the sunlit region becomes the boundary between life and dust. Maturity is the journey to keep the inner fire from ever cooling down. Maturity transforms a lonely assassin into a foundation for the entire ecosystem. True power is not burning everything, but holding on to one's living ground. In the sun rock forest, calmness is the core of the eternal flame. Beneath the decaying foliage of the forest floor, life is an endless struggle. For Wormhole, every day is a race to accumulate biomass. The weak toxin secreted from its back spikes is the only thing preventing it from becoming an easy meal. But at the bottom of the food chain, that is rarely enough. When a ground predator appears, its first instinct is camouflage. But sharp eyes from above are not easily fooled. With a soft body, it is forced to burn energy to escape. Only the most agile individuals, utilizing every basic defense mechanism, stand a chance of surviving. Having accumulated enough nutrients, they enter the most fragile stage of their lives. They encase themselves in chrysalises, leaving their fate to the harshness of the environment. An evolutionary crossroad begins, one heading up to the canopy, the other sinking into the mud. In the pupal form, they lose the ability to move and fight back. Every physical impact can only be met with absolute endurance. The individuals on the ground must endure the trampling of the ecosystem. Environmental toxins infiltrate, forcing the biological structure inside to adapt to survive. Behind that immobility, an intense restructuring process is occurring. The old body dissolves completely. No food, no movement. Everything is a brutal biological trade-off. Until they reach the limit of their transformation, the hibernation phase ends. The former fugitive has now conquered the sky. But nature does not allow them to rest. The old predator attacks immediately. Instead of panicking, the new body grants it absolute aerodynamic control. Biological weapons are unleashed. Paralyzing spores attack the motor nervous system directly. The notorious hunter is now completely neutralized by deadly grace. No longer forced to hide, it has claimed dominance over the upper canopy. On the contrary, an entity of darkness has also just awakened. The sullenness forged from the mud creates a completely different survival style. It doesn't need speed because endurance is its ultimate weapon. The environment is turned into a gas chamber, combined with perception-distorting sound waves. The larger enemy is forced to retreat in visual and directional chaos. With toxicity and steadfastness, this ground creature refuses to step back against any force. From a weak starting point, two evolutionary crossroads have created two perfect survivors. Whether light or dark, they have both overcome fragility, rewriting their status in the ecosystem. On these barren and windswept steppes, the ground is as hard as a whetstone. Survival here requires a specialized survival tool. This avian species has abandoned the sky, evolving to bind their biomechanics to a plant with a natural carbon fiber structure. The apparent beak has taken a back seat, allowing the toitee to act as an extended predatory organ. Although living in small groups, they exhibit extremely high internal territoriality, rarely sharing resources. However, the true threat comes from the dark shadows in the sky. Instinctive defensive capabilities help them survive, but the energy consumption rate is exceedingly high. To break free from the food chain, certain individuals must learn to optimize kinetic energy in every strike. At the threshold of life and death, the creature's sympathetic nervous system abruptly shifts states. Tranquility provides a perfect angle of execution. The muscle fibers memorize the trajectory, creating a continuous mechanical leverage chain. Once absolute precision is established, the biological mutation process begins. The DNA structure recombines to create an upright body morph, countering gravity more effectively. Shedding its wild instincts, Safetch'd transforms into a disciplined territorial defense machine. However, a new order always attracts challenges from primal brute force. Facing overwhelming mass, direct blocking would lead to structural bone damage. The evolutionary nervous system solution is to disperse the enemy's momentum and create a perfect fulcrum to release localized energy. Every thrust is calculated to strike the motor nerve nodes. With just a few minimalist movements, the giant predator has been completely neutralized. Tranquility has returned to the steppe, guarded by a barrier of steel discipline. In Galar's depths, life begins with darkness and keen visual adaptation. Timber turns timber into levers, a physical extension of its survival will. But predators know how to turn seismic tremors into ambush weapons. When wood shatters, instinct forces the creature to seek a new matter. In despair, the line between extinction and evolution grows thin. Steel is not just metal, it is a test for muscular limit. Godeur rises, shedding fragility to master industrial materials. Every skin scar witnesses a cycle of brutal conditioning. The rigidity of metal attracts the most cunning predators. One swing, steel tears the air, redefining the laws of territory. Yet, against tectonic rage, even the strongest steel must finally bend. When tools fail, power must return to the ancient roots of stone. Chemical condensation transforms mineral mud into life's pillars. Concours emerges, a grand architect from the ruins. Its flesh petrifies, forming an immovable entity. It does not just survive, it becomes the cavern's fulcrum. Concrete strikes, ending the hunt with the ruler's authority. Predators flee, frantically digging away from the power. As dust settles, rocks shatter to dust against concrete monuments. Heavy footsteps mark the end of an era of fragility. It steps into the sunset, carrying the strength of eternity. Under the sun, creature and matter are unified. The cave is sealed, a legacy shaped in concrete. Evolution is the endless journey of souls brave enough to change. In prairies submerged in tall grass, optical vision is virtually useless. For navigation, creatures here rely on sensory capillary filaments acting as a biological radar system. By analyzing microparticles in the air, they reconstruct the surrounding spatial map. In this environment, hunting kinetic energy must be absolutely controlled until the moment of explosive release. The sudden change in air pressure immediately triggers the prey's escape reflex. These physical tests continuously refine the neural reflex coefficient of the musculoskeletal system. But on the open prairie, predators possessing aerodynamic advantages always hold control. The sensory filaments detect pressure fluctuations, triggering an evasion response calculated in milliseconds. Breaking the enemy's visual axis is the most effective method of survival. The excessive growth of the anatomical radar structure begins to obstruct directional optics. To resolve this physical bottleneck, the body triggers a restructuring mutation. Facial fur hardens into a protective shield. Herdia forms, establishing the transition from a scouting structure to a defensive structure. The increase in body mass is accompanied by the development of echolocating olfaction. Dark-type predators always choose to approach from optical blind spots. By accurately calculating the opponent's momentum, it minimizes the evasion distance to conserve stamina. The predator realizes the energy expenditure yields no efficiency, immediately abandoning the target. But in nature, the most ruthless enemy has no fangs. It is temperature, thermodynamics. The current anatomical structure lacks sufficient thermal insulation coefficient to sustain an entire pack. The final evolution is driven by the collective survival need, Stoutland, a complete thermodynamic fortress. Its weight and muscle mass now serve as an impenetrable physical barrier. By adjusting its center of gravity, it allows inertia to nullify the attack trajectory itself. Evolution is not meant to destroy enemies, but to become the most steadfast protective ecosystem amidst harsh nature. In Alola's mangroves, fire is not destruction, but the will to remain pure. Lytton grooms, compressing organic oils into a primary combustion fuel source. In a cold, wet world, cleanliness is the boundary of a true assassin. A minimal fire strike, just enough to kill in a muddy environment. The lonely hunter seeks no companions, only a silent space of its own. Survival is learning to stay invisible to the eyes watching from the sky. Failure teaches the creature to observe the waves before actually counterattacking. When the inner flame erupts, the body restructures its own biological limits. Torracat emerges, carrying the heavy roar of the dry land guardian. When the flame sac vibrates, a new biological order begins to be established. The master of temperature has asserted absolute control over this swampy region. Challenges come from the deep, where raw power overwhelms nimble speed. As the tide rises, survival is forced into a narrow and cramped space. The enemy of fire is not water, but the encroachment of deep darkness. Power lies not in the punch, but in the ability to hold one's ground. When limits break, the solitary flame transforms into an eternal and steady pillar. Incineroar appears. A wall of fire standing against the surging and violent tide. One single rotation decides who is the true master of the remaining land. Order is established when the strongest knows how to protect the silence. Maturity transforms a lonely assassin into a foundation for the entire ecosystem. The flame will never die if there is a great spirit to inherit. Holding one's ground is the greatest victory of all life that exists. On ancient steppes, the silence of the lake ecosystem is maintained by microscopic energy pulses. Paldea, a semi-liquid biomechanical entity, exists in a fragile balance between land and water. The burden of ancient legacy lies within the opaque, unformed horn. The cultivation process is not through raw power, but through rhythmic control. Every step of the ancient guardians is a defined geological pulse. Paldea observes and tries to mimic that heavy stride, but its semi-liquid body is still unstable. Kinetic desynchronization often leads to useless, scattered force. Every conflict is a measurement of velocity and center of gravity. Scattered force is the consequence of an unfocused center of gravity. Kinetic adjustment demands maximum neurological focus. From then, Paldea practices focusing everything into a thin line, gathering all force into a clear, single straight axis. Achieving biological stillness allows for linear impulse. Relentless forging in the dark gradually bends the physical limits of the body. The shell of hesitation shatters, releasing a fully formed biological nucleus. The reconstruction process is complete. The resolute sentinel arises, carrying the flawless precision of a straight line. The resolute form is not faster, but more precise. Interacting with the mud ecosystem demands rear leg stability. The resolute sentinel no longer experiments, but rather flawless reflex. The entire process is the concentration of energy into an unblemished straight line. Without any communicative signals, biological stillness has allowed for absolute impulse synchronization. The four entities now operate as a single kinetic network, inseparable. From a sapling with unconscious fluctuations, it has learned to gather survival energy into a flawless straight line, not through brute force, but through absolute precision. Deep underground, a biological network silently preserves the absolute order. These are tiny spy cells, the fundamental units monitoring the planet. When imbalance reaches a threshold, the defense mechanism will be activated. An infrasonic signal forces the fragments to abandon their dormancy. The 10% form is designed for missions requiring extreme speed. It assesses the biological threat level within a fleeting split second. Countering with extreme speed, compressing all kinetic energy into a ram. This scout form lacks the mass to suppress the giant. When speed fails, the biological structure is forced to upgrade immediately. The 50% form emerges, the ultimate embodiment of geological power. It begins executing punishment through the wrath of the land. Futile resistance only inflicts more grievous harm on the ecosystem. Chaos is a system error that must be absolutely wiped out. A process of absolute convergence between biological fragments begins. This is complete zygarde, the final zenith of biological balance. A biological machine possessing power far surpassing the gods. Order is established through the exercise of complete dominance. It concentrates energy for the ultimate core punishment, a precisely calculated strike protecting the surrounding life. The Punisher is also, simultaneously, the great healer. They return to an invisible state, hidden in every inch. Order has been preserved, awaiting the awakening of new chaos. The harsh Gala Ocean, where crustaceans must fight relentlessly to survive. Clauncher utilizes compressed water pressure to subdue prey from a long distance. A confrontation between the opportunistic predator and the shallow water artillery. Survival instinct drives a high-speed burst to escape the clutches of death. After the escape, Clauncher retreats into the shadows, its body exhausted. In the darkness, the painful process of cellular restructuring begins. Accumulated energy triggers mutation, driving evolution beyond its normal limits. The enemy sense energy, ready to finish the underdog. Cloetzer rises, transforming from prey into a mobile fortress. The new biological design allows for integrated maximum compressed firepower. a shot from an incredible distance, tearing through oceanic pressure. The crustacean shell is now as tough as a steel shield. Internal energy is released, creating widespread destructive power. Dragon power asserts absolute control over the territory. Strength is not just for destruction, but for protecting its kin. Symbiotic interaction ensures the long-term survival of the population. The ocean artillery's journey continues amidst the deepest mysteries. Evolution is life's definitive answer to the harshest challenges.